Hold on tight, because what I'm about to say is going to shake the black and gold nation to its core. I'm Jack Romano, and I've just gotten some bombshells straight out of Latrobe that have the locker room and the fan base on high alert. We're talking roster moves, heavy trade rumors, and to make things worse, serious concern for one of our defensive cornerstones. It's the kind of day where you can just feel that something big is about to pop. So, tell me, are you ready to face all of this head on, or are you going to sit this one out? But before we dive into these hot takes, let me ask a quick favor. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. It helps a ton to keep this passionate black and gold brotherhood community alive. This is the spot for real talk, exclusive info, and a whole lot of love for the Steelers. Let's do this. First up, we're starting with a big roster shakeup, and honestly, it's left a lot of people scratching their heads. The Steelers decided to end the competition for the versatile tight end fullback spot by cutting rookie DJ Thomas Jones. Yep, the same guy who was turning heads in the preseason for his ability to line up in multiple offensive positions, from inline to H-back and fullback. But, as always, the NFL is a ruthless business when talent doesn't come with a healthy body. The kid was coming off a leg injury, returned to practice, but then missed 2 more sessions, and the last preseason game. The result, he was waived with an injury designation, along with defensive back Cameron McCutcheon. Now, the detail most people missed is that if they clear waivers, they can come back to the team on the injured reserve list, which means they could still be part of the plans down the road. But the reality is, Thomas Jones had the potential to be that offensive chess piece that Arthur Smith loves. At South Alabama, he had over 70 receptions and 11 touchdowns. And the Steelers even paid a record signing bonus for an undrafted player, $30,000, to secure him on the roster. That just goes to show how much the coaching staff believed in the guy. McCutcheon, on the other hand, is a grinder. He spent last season on the practice squad and arrived in Pittsburgh from the Rams. He's never played an official regular season game but was training hard until he pulled a muscle in the preseason. To fill these gaps, the team brought in Kevin Fulch, a tight end who had already been through our training camp, and Mikey Victor, a defensive back with stints at the Patriots, UNLV, and Alabama State. Neither of them has a regular season game on their resume, but Fulch, for example, scored 16 touchdowns in college and has been with the Jets, Panthers, and Eagles. Victor is that aggressive coverage guy, with 21 passes defended and 3 interceptions during his time at Alabama State. Now, why is this move important? Because it shows the Steelers are working the bottom of the roster to keep their intensity up in practice, especially in positions where depth can be a game changer during the season. And between you and me, it also makes it clear that the roster battle is hotter than it seems, with names coming and going in the blink of an eye. The question is, will these new guys be able to seize the opportunity, or will we see more changes in the coming days? And hold on, because the next segment has a big name popping up on the Steelers' radar, and it's not just any name. Now let's talk about part 2 of this movement, because it wasn't just a simple name swap on paper. The Steelers made the arrival of tight end Kevin Fulch and defensive back Mikey Victor official, and I'm telling you, it might seem minor, but these moves carry more weight than people realize. First, Fulch. The guy already went through our training camp, so he's not arriving cold. He knows part of the playbook, he understands the pace, and most importantly, he gets the expectations that come with playing in Pittsburgh. This kind of familiarity can be gold when the team is in the middle of preparation and doesn't have time to teach from scratch. Plus, even though he hasn't played an official NFL snap yet, he has some mileage. The Chiefs, Panthers, Jets, and Eagles have all seen his work up close. He's the kind of player who might not be a star, but can get the job done and help keep the motor running. Now, Mikey Victor, he's an interesting one. Coming out of Alabama State, the guy had a fascinating journey. He went through Ventura College and UNLV before getting there. And there, my friend, he put in the work. 55 tackles, 21 passes defended, and 3 interceptions in 2 seasons. Those are numbers that show aggression and play-reading ability. And even if he doesn't have regular season experience yet, you can see he's the type of DB who isn't afraid to take a chance to make a play. The key point here is that these signings aren't necessarily for today, but to keep the roster ready to react to any emergency. With McCutcheon out and us still not knowing exactly how the tight end rotation will look after the departure of Thomas Jones, Fulch and Victor come in as immediate replacements, but with a real chance to carve out a spot for themselves if they take advantage of their practice and preseason snaps. And here's the detail that only those who follow closely will notice. These moves show that the front office is keeping an eye on the market, ready to seize any opportunity to strengthen specific areas. This could be an indication that more reinforcements are on the way, especially if impactful opportunities arise like the one we're about to talk about. Because if you think today's news ends here, get ready. There's a giant offensive name popping up on the radar, and if this thing goes through, it's going to rock not only Pittsburgh but the entire NFL, and I'm not exaggerating. All right, now we get to the rumor that's setting the Terrible Towel Nation on fire. You know those conversations that start quietly, but before you know it, they're in every forum, group chat, and bar? Well, the name of the moment is none other than Tyreek Hill. Yes, the cheetah. Here's what's happening. According to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, there are teams eyeing a potential trade for Hill, and guess what? The Steelers are being mentioned as one of those teams that are, at the very least, monitoring the situation. Officially, the Dolphins say they're not willing to trade the guy, but let's be real, when that "we're not trading" talk starts, there's always smoke behind it. Hill is 31 years old, coming off a season with nearly 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns, but with a recent history of off-field ups and downs and a shaky relationship with the team. And check out the context. Pittsburgh has already shown twice this offseason that they're willing to make splash moves, bringing in DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey. In other words, you can't rule out the possibility of them getting heavily involved in a conversation if the price is right. Now just imagine an offense with Aaron Rodgers throwing to Metcalf, Hill, and with Calvin Austin as the WR3. That would be pretty much a message to the entire league that the Steelers are all in to go for the Lombardi right now. The problem, of course, is Hill's contract. A $27 million cap hit this year and a staggering $51.8 million next year. Although he could be cut after 2025 with $15.5 million in dead cap. This means that if Pittsburgh really wants to make this move, they'll need to get creative with the salary cap. But here's my point as a true fan. If the idea is to go for a title now, you can't be afraid to be bold. Hill would open up the field, force defenses to respect the deep ball, and create a ripple effect for the other receivers to produce more. Of course, it's all speculation for now, but I've seen this movie before. And when the Steelers start moving quietly, something big could be about to happen. Now, hold on tight because the next piece of news is a gut punch. And not in a good way. It involves one of our pillars in the secondary and an injury that's already costing fans sleep. This last bit of news hit me hard, and I'm sure it's going to hit every true Steel Curtain Pride fan. During practice in Latrobe, our star cornerback, Darius Slay, suffered an ankle injury. It happened right at the beginning of the 7-on-7 drill when DK Metcalf scored a touchdown. Slay was limping, sat on the field, and had to be attended to by the trainers. Soon after, he went to the bench, where he received ice and a bandage on his right ankle. And what's concerning is that we're already without Jalen Ramsey, who hasn't been practicing in recent days, which means our two big acquisitions for the secondary are out of action right now. Now, before the panic sets in, it's important to say this. So far, there's no confirmation of the severity. It could be something simple, but everyone knows Slay has been dealing with a history of recent injuries. Adam Kaplan, an NFL insider, even mentioned way back about concerns with one of his knees due to an arthroscopic surgery at the end of 2023. Slay pushed back, saying everything was fine, that he didn't feel anything, but you know how it is. Fans always have that little nagging feeling. And look, he's a warrior. Last year, even with groin, ankle, and even concussion issues, he only missed 3 games. But we have to remember, he's already 34 years old. For cornerbacks, that age weighs heavily. His play reading is excellent, but the position requires explosion and quick change of direction, and that's where any injury can become a serious problem. The point here is that the Steelers' defense was built this offseason with a formidable trio in mind: Slay, Ramsey, and Joey Porter Jr. If 2 of them are out of practice at the same time, the chemistry, which is already hard to build, gets delayed. And if there's one thing I always stress, it's that to go far in the playoffs, you need your secondary to be on the same page from the start. Now, the fan base is anxiously waiting for good news, but until something official comes out, it's impossible not to feel a pit in your stomach, because losing Slay for a long period would be a huge blow to any immediate championship aspirations. We'll be keeping an eye on it and hoping it's just a scare. And, listen, if you thought the locker room vibe was already intense with all the moves and rumors, Just imagine now with this uncertainty. Stick around because I'll be tying all of this together shortly and showing you what these four situations together really mean for the Steelers' immediate future. Take a deep breath, because after all that, you can feel that the Steel City is at a huge crossroads. Between tough cuts, new guys trying to prove themselves, a rumor that could change the offense, and the serious concern for a defensive pillar, this is the kind of moment that tests a fan's soul. I, Jack Romano, am telling you, this is the home of the true black and gold nation, and we don't back down from pressure. Now, tell me, would you risk it all for another ring, or would you play it safe? Because from what I'm seeing, there's some heavy turbulence ahead.